Before I spread any thinset in this area, I know I have to make some cuts over here at the toilet flange, and it makes more sense to do it now when everything is dry. Now, the method that I'll be using here is useful for going around any round object. And the first thing I do is jam a little stick in the opening of the toilet flange. And when it's in place, I just bring a tile over, give it the right spacing, and transfer that center point onto this tile. And with those little tick marks, I bring that down, and that gets me through the big piece. Now this one here, it doesn't cover over the center point, so I can just position it mark that one off with the compass. And the same thing for this one. For this one right here in the corner, I can just about eyeball it. Now, normally for trimming like this, I use the biters. And for a little trim like that, the biters are okay. But these tiles are 1/2 inch thick and vitreous and really pretty tough. And I don't want to risk damaging any of these over here. So I'm going to trim these with a dry cutting diamond blade instead. Unlike the relatively benign wet saw, the configuration of this blade makes it an aggressive tool and worthy of extreme caution. Notice I'm just taking light cuts, and to position the tile, I've used several nails and a clamp. I have my glasses and ear protection on, and to keep the dust and chips to a minimum, I've got a vacuum rigged up. Now the quality of the cut is not as good as you'd find on a wet saw, but the position of these tiles will be obscured by the toilet. Now where I can't go completely through a tile, I score down as deeply as I can and then break off the excess. Once the tiles have been cut, I can begin spreading thinset. I'll use the long notch side to do the bulk of this section, and then use the narrow end to get into the tighter spots. As in the other sections of the floor, I begin by setting full tiles first, and then the cut tiles. And in some cases, it makes more sense to apply the thinset to the tile rather than the substrate. You can generally tell if you have enough adhesive on the back of the tile if a little bit of it squeezes out when it's pressed into position. If you look at individual joints, you'll see variations, but overall the effect is balanced, and that's part of the attraction of a primitive floor like this. And the effect will be enhanced once the tiles are grouted. Once the diagonal field has been set, we can begin cutting the border tiles.